Hi, welcome to another camping survival video blog. Today we're going to be talking about EMP with my good friend Chuck Fenwick from Medical Corps. Good to see you, Chuck.
Hi.
Hey. Tell us, I guess, what an EMP is, first of all.
Well, EMP is an electromagnetic pulse. And usually when people are talking about an EMP, they're talking about something huge like an atomic bomb going off, and it puts out a large pulse. But an EMP can also be just from, you're on a walkie-talkie and you hit the little button to call your friend who's a mile away. It actually sends out an electromagnetic pulse and activates a switch, and it goes. So that's also an EMP. But when I'm talking about an EMP, I'm talking about the biggie. And say someone sets off a nuclear bomb, and we'll say it's 60 miles up. It puts out a pulse of real heavy energy, which reacts with the atmosphere and the Earth's magnetic field, and it produces lots and lots of excess electricity.
Okay.
So anything that is metal now has an electric charge in it, and it's not small, it's big. We're talking about, say, 5,000 volts per meter of wire.
Okay.
Extra.
And then what does that do?
Well, it fries every circuit that it touches, just about. The more delicate the circuit, like in computers, any type of electronics, even your larger circuitry, it has an overcharge. It's like hooking up something that runs off of 110, and you hook it into something that puts out 220 volts. That's not good for it. Now, do thousands of volts, now you really have a problem.
So if someone releases or sets off a nuclear bomb high up in the atmosphere,
right,
it's going to send down its energy and fry anything electric.
Right.
What you're saying. Okay.
It doesn't matter. And there are some things that will survive. I know that people say that, well, if it has tubes in it, that's a more crude, it'll not be affected, and that's not right. Some tubes actually enhance it. But the problem with the EMP, especially in our society, is that everything has a very delicate circuit in it. Everything.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's a car, a boat, even your diesel engines have a computer hooked up to them. And an EMP is also about 1,000 times faster than lightning. So there's no such thing as a fuse that will help. A fuse will actually conduct the charge. And so you're sitting here inside of a house, and there's an EMP. Anything that is in use will be fried.
In use, if it's
In
not
other
plugged
words,
in?
your refrigerator, your television, everything that's plugged in someplace will probably be fried. And if it runs off of batteries, it still has all these microcircuits in it, and they're most likely going to be fried too.
How about if it's not plugged in or it doesn't have batteries in it?
Doesn't matter. If it's electronic, it's going to fry it.
Wow. Okay.
And it's not 100%, but who cares if you have one walkie-talkie? Who are you going to talk to?
Right.
Right. It's that profound an effect, and it doesn't have to be high up in the air. It can be a local bomb going off.
There's still going to be an
near
EMP
you.
effect.
That's
Gotcha.
called an SREMP, a SREMP.
Okay.
And source regional electromagnetic pulse, and it's even more profound, but it's line of sight. And
okay.
But then again, that's line of sight for the charge right here, but it produces electricity. Say it'll follow train rails for as long as the train rails go.
Gotcha.
And if you have high lines in the area, they might have several thousand volts running through them. Now add another 5,000 to 10,000 volts extra, and it'll blow every transformer in the way. And you've probably been in a neighborhood where an old transformer blows up, and then anybody hooked into the circuit, now they've got 440 volts running through all their electronics.
Toast.
And that's not even an EMP. Well, it is in a way, but it's almost like magic. It's in the air. You can't feel it. It's probably not going to hurt you. You won't even know when it happens. Maybe your hair will stand up on end a little bit.
Probably not mine.
Well, you know. And it fries everything.
Wow. So, anything you can do about it to protect yourself?
Yeah, you have to be sort of paranoid about it. Remember, if anything's in use, there's no putting a fuse in to protect it. Because even if you do have a fuse in the way, you still have these rays, you know, this electricity hitting the device itself, and all the little circuits produce electricity. So,
right.
So a fuse is not going to work. There are fuses, but they're like 200 nanoseconds or faster.
Okay.
And that's a no-go. That's not going to happen.
Right.
So you need redundant gear. Like I have an extra laptop. And the reason I have the laptop is not can I watch movies on the thing, you know, might need some entertainment, but I have medical DVDs that I might want to play so I can show somebody how to suture me up after I slipped and cut open my buttocks, and make sense I can't suture myself up, not back there.
Yeah, right.
So and you have other information you might want to save on, say, your computer. I have extra walkie-talkies. I have extra radios. I have extra a lot of things, and I wrap them, and there's a lot of a certain way it's to attenuate the signal. There's a lot of misinformation out there. I've seen people saying, they say this is EMP proof bag. Well, you can say anything you want. This is America, and it comes under free speech. But those little static bags, they're for static.
Right.
That's the only thing they're for. That's so the static electricity in your body doesn't hurt the circuit. And that alone should tell you how delicate the circuits are.
Right.
I mean, they're not even hooked up, and you can fry them with your fingers. Well, that static bag is not going to protect against an EMP.
What will?
Well, what we do, and we found this out the hard way, and I say we, Medical Corps, is you know, we're always looking for shortcuts, and how we can do something without jumping through lots of hoops to get it done, how we can protect something. So I thought, well, a paint can, that's soft iron or soft steel, it's a good EMP cage, and it is. And so I took a walkie-talkie, and I wrapped it in bubble wrap. I left the batteries in it, turned it on, and I put it inside this paint can and sealed the lid. And I thought, well, this will work.
Right.
And I stood back with another walkie-talkie, and these are only 1/2 watt. And I hit the call button, and the one in the can answered me, and I go, oh, that's a real bad not good. So, oh no. So I called up another friend, and I said, put your cell phone in your microwave and see if you can call it, because microwave is supposed to be another way to protect against the EMP. He put his cell phone in the microwave, called it, and it answered. And that's bad. And so then I tried the trash can. And granted, the walkie-talkie is high-frequency electricity, but so is an EMP. And because someone has said, well, you know, I can put my FM radio in there, and it won't play when I put the lid on it, so that's protected against EMP. It's protected against an FM radio signal.
Yeah.
That's not protected against EMP.
Right.
I mean, are they saying that an FM radio signal is as strong as an EMP? So anyway, it answered even in the trash can. So, so I called up a friend who called up Los Alamos. Anyway, we're going through all the stuff of what we can do. And first of all, you need redundant gear. In other words, if it's not wrapped, then it's gone. So you need to learn how to wrap it. And it's bubble wrap, foil, bubble wrap, foil, bubble wrap, foil, bubble wrap, foil, bubble wrap.
How many?
Have at least 3 layers of foil separated by bubble wrap.
Okay.
No breaks in the foil. You don't want to produce what's called a keyhole effect. It will actually magnify a signal. And then you put that in your paint can, and then you bubble wrap it, and then you put that into we'll say an ammo can, because you need to protect against moisture,
Right.
and banging around, all the rest of the stuff. Put your batteries in there with it. Regular alkaline batteries don't have to be wrapped.
Okay.
But you need the batteries with it. Nothing worse than having a piece of gear that works but not have batteries for it.
Right.
And we usually go with 3 to 7 layers of foil. And not one layer on top of the other. They have to be separated.
By bubble wrap, gotcha.
And that allows for what's called attenuation of the signal. And that doesn't matter if you put it in a microwave or not. And I mean, face it, if a cell phone is not protected from, if a cell phone can answer you inside of a microwave,
Anything can get to it.
right? It also tells you if your cell phone can get through the microwave, what the microwave is cooking, what gets through it, come back and hit you.
Yeah, bingo. Good point.
So that takes care of protecting whatever gear you want to protect. But where an EMP is important is not what happens, it's the aftermath. Because if you can survive the aftermath of an EMP, you can survive anything short of drowning in a tsunami.
Why is that? What would it look like after an EMP? What would things be like?
All your electronics fail. You read the book 1 Second After, but that's what it's going to be like.
Good book.
Yeah, that's an excellent book. There are some mistakes in it that bears mentioning. First of all, Humulin, insulin, it has a shelf life of at least a year at room temperature, unopened.
That's interesting.
You don't have to put it. You should put it in the fridge, but that just sitting out on 70 degrees, it has a shelf life of at least a year.
Wow.
You can also freeze it and then thaw it and use it. So you can extend the shelf life of something like Humulin indefinitely.
Wow.
And another mistake in it, of course, is they wouldn't let them fish in the lake, and you're not going to be able to pollute a lake.
Why wouldn't they let them fish in the lake?
They're afraid it's going to be polluted, and then they couldn't use it for drinking water. And if you can keep people from pooping in a lake, you can also use the same type of, make sure they only get fish out of it. Fish would have fed the people.
Right.
If you want to survive a long time, you better learn how to fish, because their fish are always in one place. If the deer stayed all in one place, it'd be a lot easier to hunt. But they don't do that.
True. What kind of diseases and such would you think would show up after an EMP?
Oh, I know. Anytime the system goes down, our medical infrastructure fails, our sanitation goes down, and people generally don't know how to keep themselves clean, and then there's people out there that really don't care to keep themselves clean. So typhoid we have carriers in our society right now, so typhoid will spring up. Cholera will spring up. Those are 2 dirt diseases. They're called fecal oral diseases. Any type of dysentery, you're going to have a lot of that. And then just if you're these people, as we get hungry or sick and weak, so things like the flu or plague, plague will spring up. You have a lot of animals with plague. They're in the wild. And they're endemic in say, the squirrel population. And that's what they do on bases a lot, is military bases. They have pest control, and they go out and try to control the squirrel population because it has bubonic plague. So that's the kind of diseases that can show up.
What can you do about that? Anything you can do to prepare for that?
Yeah, it's good to have antibiotics on hand. First of all, you need to keep your immune system keep it healthy. Start eating a little healthier and take your vitamins, things like that. Give your immune system a little boost. And take care of all your medical problems right now. If you have dental problems, go in and take them care of. You don't want to have to worry about a bad tooth in survival mode. But antibiotics that you should absolutely have on hand is doxycycline. It's either doxycycline hyclate or doxycycline monohydrate. Doxy. We call it doxy. And you can buy it here in the States. You can buy it without a prescription. for your barnyard animals and for your fish. And it's in human doses. It's 100 milligram tablets. That's an adult dose. And then another one is Cipro, and they call it fish flox, I think. And it's ciprofloxacin. We call it Cipro, and it comes in 500 milligram tablets. And that's another important one to have, because almost every disease that's like a bacterial disease, which doesn't matter if it's typhoid or whatever, almost all of them, it doesn't matter if it's typhoid, cholera, malaria, all the rest of those can be prevented, the symptoms can be prevented if you're taking doxycycline. And if I have to work in a contaminated environment and everybody has cholera, I'm going to be taking doxy. If it's not a contaminated environment, I'm not even going to worry about it.
Right.
I'm not going to be taking doxycycline. The one disease that doxycycline will not touch is, we know for sure, is typhoid. So for that you need Cipro.
Okay.
And probably plague, you should have Cipro also. So Cipro and Doxy are the two main antibiotics that you should have on hand.
Okay.
Plus any of the others that you can come up with. Doesn't matter if it's penicillin, amoxicillin, Cipro, Doxy, Z-Pax, erythromycin, azithromycin, any of those type of antibiotics, if you can get them, from the animal stuff, or get them from your physician, get them.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. What other considerations are there? Can you think of anything else post-EMP?
Well, if there's an EMP, there most likely has been a nuclear strike someplace. Usually how an EMP works, it's not just one bomb in the middle of the United States. It's several of them, over ports and what have you. If it's state-sponsored strike, the EMP will be followed up in 20 to 30 minutes, maybe an hour, by the real deal atomic bombs or thermonuclear bombs. One's H-bomb, one's an A-bomb. And so now you're going to have to deal with fallout. And one of the things that, like you'd ask about when we were talking about KI and KIO3, is when to take it. Well,
actually, grab that bottle over there, please. It's KIO3. This is
when do you take stuff like this? When do you know there's a problem? Well, a lot of times you can see fallout. You can actually see it. It comes down like dust.
Okay.
But you should have detection equipment. And a lot of people have, they have like a Geiger counter. And okay, here's a Geiger counter. Just so happens I have one here.
How'd that get there?
Yeah, all right. This is the one, the old Civil Defense Geiger counter, still work. And I turn it on like this, and I sit there and watch the gauge long enough, and you can see it
counting. You just showed me that.
Counting the gamma. And then this one here also has what's called a beta window on it. You turn it like that and open up the little window. And this window opens up and it'll count the beta.
Okay.
Because some of them are gamma, alpha, beta.
What does that mean? What's gamma?
It's just different types of radiation.
And it went up when there was gamma present.
Okay, gamma is what comes from the sun and also comes from the immediate blast, and all the fallout has a lot of gamma in it. A lot of it. It also may be alpha, and alpha is not that bad. It won't even go through that shirt.
Oh, okay.
But if you eat it,
now
you have it's concentrated. It's inside your body. It doesn't have to go through anything. It's there.
Gotcha.
And then you have beta, as we were talking about beta from something like iodine-131. That's like a sunburn. So normally we have a background radiation. We might measure it in REMS. Old school, they called it REMS, radiation equivalent man. And after you acquire it, then it's called RADS. It's been in my body for, say, 100 REMS for 1 hour equals 100 RADS.
Okay.
100 REMS for 2 hours is 200 RADS. Radiation acquired dose, RAD. REM, radiation equivalent, or on one says Röntgen, anyway.
Okay.
R stands for Röntgen or radiation. Be that as it may, then they also measure them in what now they call them sieverts and microsieverts, and it's still the same thing. It means little bitty tiny bullets going zzz through your body. So we have to be able to measure this stuff, and how much, you know, it depends on the literature. But as I told you earlier, you're on a boat or a ship, and you look down in the bilge or the hole, and you see water sloshing around. That's not a bad thing.
It's going to happen.
It's no big deal. There's no rip in the boat or anything like that. So you don't worry about it. That's normal. If you're on a submarine and you see water sloshing around, now you got a problem.
Right.
So how much radiation? If it's, say, 4 times above background radiation, say I'm supposed to be getting 2 rims an hour, and I'm getting 8 rims an hour or 10 rims an hour, you better start paying attention. It shouldn't be that. It should be more like 2. So you need devices like this right here. Some people carry around little dosimeters. That's a good thing to have. They have DMC 2000. I think that was something I used to have, but for some reason it broke, and the company didn't even know how to fix it. So we know it didn't come from Europe or the United States. There
you go.
It came from someplace else, and
yeah, that's an interesting watch here.
That's a Geiger counter.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, this is it's both a dosimeter. See,
I'm going to bring it up closer to the camera.
Big plunking watch.
Look at this thing.
And it tells the time.
Oh, it tells the time.
It also tells the radiation. It tells all the radiation that's coming down. I mash a button, and it'll tell you what the background radiation is. And then another little dial will tell you how much that you have absorbed over the last several days.
Very cool.
And if one of them gets above so much, that means it's above background. That's an alarm goes off and tells me, oh, you got too much radiation coming in. And then if I get over so much radiation per amount of time, that's called dose, then another alarm will go off and say, it's time for you to leave the area. You've been there too long. Plus the time and date and all the rest of that.
So it's interesting. You can, about emergency preparedness, that type of thing. Some people say, well, if anything does happen, I don't want to live. Well, what if you do? What if your family members do?
More food for me.
Yeah. So you want to plan ahead a little bit, and you want to have some information. Information is key. Knowledge is key. So that's what this video is about for me, is just getting some information out there. So, you know, think ahead, plan ahead. That's preparedness. That's what we do.
Right.
Anything else we should convey to the folks?
You know, I can't think. There's a lot of things I can, you know, like I teach for days and days on it. But don't be telling people that you're afraid the sky's going to fall. Right. You don't even if you are afraid of it. Just you're trying to take care of your family. There's nothing that you shouldn't want to do to help your family.
Right. And
you don't have to save the world. But you at least should have some things in place. That's why we wear seatbelts in a car.
Right.
That's why if I go hang gliding or ultralights, I have a parachute with me. I don't want to fall out of the sky without a parachute. That's bad news. And it's a little bit late if you wait till after something like that happens. You can't put your seatbelt on in the middle of a crash.
Right.
So yeah, it's preparedness. Some people
planning ahead.
Some people don't.
Right. It's interesting. Okay, good. So that was a little bit about EMP. We may do some more on EMP. Who knows?
Yeah.
But thanks again, Chuck. I appreciate the time and your information as always. And thanks for visiting us at Camping Survival Video Blog. Please subscribe to us here. And check us out on Facebook, Facebook Camping Survival, and Facebook Camping Survival Women. And thank you again, and have a nice day.